noticed, there are a lot of us in this world. To be exact, there are 7,087,318,874, 875, 876, 877. Yes, the world population is constantly increasing at a rate of 1.1%. There is one birth every 8 seconds, while there is one death every 12 seconds. And every person that is born has 4.5 acres available to them for their survival. However, humans on average use 5 acres per person. We are currently exceeding the biocapacity of Earth. People, it's called overpopulation, and it's not good. For this reason, it is very important that we decrease the population growth rate. Now look at this map here. This map shows the population growth rate across the world. The darker the country is, the higher the population growth rate is. Now look at this map. This map shows the GDP per capita across the world. The darker the region, the higher the GDP per capita is. Now if you look at them next to each other, you notice that a country's economy and population growth are directly related. Regions that are dark on the map showing population growth rate are light on the GDP per capita map. This means a country with a high GDP tends to have a low population growth rate. There are exceptions, but that is the primary trend. Many say that religion is a major contributor to population growth, and because religion is very important, many regions will not change their ways. But look, Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan are both Islamic countries. Saudi Arabia has a GDP of $25,700 American dollars per capita and a population growth rate of 1.51%. Afghanistan has a GDP per capita of 1,000 American dollars and a population growth rate of 2.25%. And the same applies to Christian countries. Germany has a GDP per capita of 39,100 American dollars and a population growth rate of negative 0.19%. Ghana, with a GDP per capita of $3,300, has a population growth rate of 2.19%. I recommend watching Han Rosling's TED Talk on religion and babies. In his TED Talk, Mr. Rosling states, religion has very little to do with the number of babies per woman. All the religions in the world are fully capable to maintain their values and adapt to this new world. I could not agree more. Population growth is not caused by religion as much as it is caused by economic status. And now look where this trend is noticeable the most. Here in Africa. Many countries in Africa are major contributors to overpopulation because of their high population growth rates and their low income. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. But Africa is too large, and so I had to limit myself to one country. I chose Mali. Mali has one of the highest population growth rates in the world, yet it is a country with vast amount of resources. In other words, Mali is a country with huge potential to become a fully developed country. Unfortunately, Mali is already on its way to improving. If you look at this graph, you see that Mali's population growth rate is experiencing a gradual decrease. And if you look at the graph showing Mali's GDP, you can see that Mali's GDP is increasing. This is good. However, if you see this graph showing Mali's GDP per capita, that is Mali's GDP distributed among its population, you see that it has stopped increasing, it has plateaued, and it has begun to even decrease. This is not good. What this means is that Mali's population is growing faster than Mali's GDP. Now, Mali must work to solve this problem. And for that reason, Mali is a perfect model for other underdeveloped countries. But in order for us to apply Mali to other countries, we first have to understand Mali. We have to understand what problems Mali faces and how Mali plans to solve them. Only then can we fully understand the factors that contribute to a country's underdevelopment. By applying the model presented by Mali's journeys towards economic stability, we as a globalized world will be able to alleviate the dilemma of overpopulation one country at a time. So let's begin with Mali's history. This outline contains many important events in Mali's history. We can see here that Mali has struggled with corruption, economic instability, and mistrust between the government and the citizens of Mali. Today, Mali is still underdeveloped. However, Mali's history has allowed Mali and the UN to realize what Mali needs. The UN has created the Millennium Development Goals. These goals have been created to reduce poverty, world poverty, by the year 2050. And Mali has created the Plan for the Sustainable Recovery of Mali. In this document, we will find all of Mali's problems and proposed solutions. It is a very long and complex document. It is not a very fun read, but I recommend reading it. So the plan outlines 3 areas: infrastructure, governance, education. So let's begin with infrastructure. Infrastructure consists of roads, water, and energy. Better and improved roads will link areas of production to areas of consumption. They will connect different parts of the country, creating a greater sense of nationality for all Malians. They will allow for the easy transfers of resources in case of a national disaster across the country. Irrigation systems will improve agricultural production by reducing Mali's farmers' dependency on rain, making them less vulnerable to droughts. Increased agricultural production will provide food security, and potable water will provide clean water. Fewer children will die of malnutrition. A reliable source of energy will attract investment for development programs. Mali will not have to depend so much on oil. Ultimately, such projects and infrastructure will also provide Malians with stable and higher paying jobs. However, a government who can effectively manage these projects is also necessary. And the main objective for Mali's government is decentralization. Decentralization will provide support to local authorities and so that they are able to effectively respond to the concerns of Malian citizens. In other words, decentralization is the means by which Mali's government will reach a democracy. Establishing trust between citizens and the central government through local authorities will lead to national peace. The Plan for the Sustainable Recovery of Mali states that democracy in Mali requires an educated electorate. I couldn't agree more. Improvement in education in Mali will create independent-minded citizens that will serve as judges of their nation's well-being. These educated minds will be able to participate in the country's social debate. Unfortunately, Mali's current literacy rate is at 27.7%, with a huge difference between males and females. And only 41% of children of the ages of 7 to 12 attend primary school. Again, you see the difference between males and females. And 19% of Jews of the ages of 18 to 18 attend secondary school. Now look at this graph. Almost half of Mali's population is under 14. As you can see, many children do not survive very long. The infant mortality rate is 106 deaths per every 1,000 births. The average life expectancy is 54 years. But if infrastructure is implemented and healthcare is provided to children, then these children will survive, and these children will need to be educated. These children will be the future of Mali. But because school supplies are very low, and because children have to walk several kilometers to get to school, many children are subject to child labor. But education not only applies to children, it also applies to women. Without education, women have no other alternative to their lives but to marry, have many babies, and work in the house or on the farm. With education, women will be able to get viable jobs and contribute financially to the family. Women with jobs and education will not marry at such an early age and will have fewer babies. Again, education, infrastructure, and governments are all directly connected to each other. And educated people will have the intelligence to be political leaders in their country, leading to a well-run government that responds effectively to the needs of its people. A well-run government will also be able to new infrastructure policies to enhance the country's management of resources and education. A stronger economy will bring hospitals, education, better schools, and resources that will result in the well-being of many more children. With better paying jobs, parents won't feel the need to give birth to 6 or 7 babies that will be put into labor. This is what will lead Mali successfully down the road of economic development and towards decreasing its population growth rate. But it does not end there. Mali is just one out of many countries that equally contribute to the world's overpopulation. Take these countries, for example: Niger, Burkina Faso, and Afghanistan. All 3 countries have population growth rates higher than 2.2%, which is twice the average population growth rate. All 3 countries have literacy rates under 30% of the total population, with a huge difference between males and females. All 3 countries require improvement in governments, infrastructure, and education. The 3 factors discussed in Mali apply to these countries. Now we need the same recovery plan implemented in Mali to also apply to these countries as well. Thank you.